to me. When I try to get her to walk to Penny, she gets down and crawls. But when she sees me and I say, come on, she's that little toddler, she'll take about 5 steps, and then she falls. Well, her faith is, Gaga's going to catch her. Those little eyes are looking at me. That's childlike faith. I'm going to step out, Ava, how does she know I'm going to catch her? I may let her hit her head on the floor. I may really but she has the faith to know that Gaga's always been there for me. If Gaga can help it, I'm not going to fall. So have that faith. Let go if you want to survive. You got to let go. You got to get unwound. As Brother Jimmy says, go on vacation, you mind. Just unwind it. Let's let go a little bit. You can't control it anyway. So having let go, let's go to our first point. Turn to Psalm 139, which is right next to what we just read, and let's start. And this is going to be quick, hopefully. Those of you who know me know that's something that you can't count on. But we're going to try. I told you it was going to be real, did I not? Psalm 139, verse 13 says this. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret, and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed. And in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me. As yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. Now I'm going to stop there. More in number than the sand. Now I had an occasion a few weeks ago because, as you know, we have a place on the beach. And I had the privilege right after Christmas to go down and get a little resuscitation, a little life, because that nature just gives that to me, and God through nature gives that. So I was at the beach, and I love to go out and collect shells. I'm like a little girl, If I see a shell, I'm still in wonder that there's a whole shell sitting there on the beach. It's like, oh, a shell. And, I took my sister, and we were both that way. We came back in the room, we're like, where are we going to put these things? I don't know. What are we going to do with these things? I don't know. No reason. We just love the shells. So I was going through these little shells, and I had never noticed that there were shells tinier than, or as small as the grain of sand on the beach. And then I kind of blew away some of the sand, and I looked at the grains. I had never noticed a grain of sand before. I looked at it, and of course they were all kind of different, but this one was just like a little square, just tiny, tiny little see-through square. And this scripture came to my mind. How many of those must there be on that beach? How many of those, you got to go through the whole oceans. How many sands are there? This is so interesting that I had to stop a minute and think about it. And I want you to do this morning. Your first step to survival is realizing that His thoughts towards you, which are precious, the Word says, are more numerous than anything you can count. His thoughts towards me are more numerous than the breaths I'm going to breathe, because we can count. They have a statistic on how many breaths I'll breathe during my lifetime, how many heartbeats I'll have. Man can count that, but nobody's ever counted the grains of sand. What does that mean? That means that God is having a good thought about me, a precious thought about me right now. Right now, right now, right now. You, right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. Have you ever thought? We can't count them. I'm breathing. One. Everybody count your breaths. One. You see, you're breathing. You never think about it, but you're breathing. You can count those. But you can't count grains of sand. The thoughts that He has towards you are more numerous than anything, and they're precious. So, number one, base your decisions. When you make a decision, number one, base your decisions this year on the knowledge that God fashioned your days. Okay? He formed them. And not only that, he's having a precious thought about you while you're making that decision. Now that changes things a little bit for me. Because I'm not going to make my decisions based on how I feel about me. I'm not going to base my decisions on how I feel about you. Because actually I will have to realize, hey, God's having a precious thought about that person. I better not have a bad thought about that. Ooh, uh-oh. You're God's child. If I want to line up with God, yeah, we'll have those times when we don't, of course. We got the man nature, but it's going to change the decisions we make in a lot of ways. God's having a precious thought about you. He's having a precious thought about me, and he won't lead you wrong. He can't. Base your decisions on that fact this year. Got it? God's nature towards us is good, and he will not violate his nature even when you or I do. We can be self-destructive. Or I can hurt you, or I can do something out of God's nature, but that's not God's nature. I can't tell you how many times I've done funerals or helped people to understand this was not God. Or they'll say, oh, well, God just causes. No. God's thinking precious thoughts towards that person. And I guarantee you, whatever bad is happening to that person is because God, okay, these are areas, shady gray, that we get into, and I'm not going to, I'm not a good arguer, so don't even try to argue with me. But you know what? If God's having precious thoughts towards you, if you're in his will, you have to accept that whatever happens is for your good, right? And you have to accept that if it's not, he will take even those things that are what? Intended for my harm, and what? Anybody know the scripture? Turn them around for my good. Oh boy, this is hard to do. But we're going to have to do it to survive and have victory. Number 2, Psalms 118, 8 and 9. Psalm 118, 8 and 9. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. Survival tip number 2. Put your trust in the Lord and not man's systems or methods. Notice, trust in him, not in. It tells you what not to trust in. That's just wisdom. Well, are you saying to me I don't use the banking systems? No, use a little common sense and understand. What I'm talking about is that's not where your confidence is. Les and I talk about this continually. We've got a building business. It makes good money most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, our confidence isn't there. If we lost everything, our confidence isn't there. Our confidence isn't in the bank. It's not in the money we got in the bank. It's not in the job we have that makes the money that goes in the bank. You see, the confidence is not in the system that God is there. The confidence is in the giver of life. The confidence is in God. He'll get you through. So, trust in him. Don't trust in man or his systems. Another scripture that reinforces this, and I have to read it. I wasn't going to, but Psalm 37. Let's go there. And it really reinforces what I'm saying. We'll even reinforce it more. It says this, Psalm 34. And we'll start with verse 3. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give. Now you can read the rest of it. I'm going to stop there. You want to have a good year. You want to be successful. You want to make it through. You want to have God's will. You want to be victorious. Delight yourself in the Lord. Trust him first, and then delight. This is just still a part of that last survival tip, number 2. Delight. We got to do some delighting this year if we want him to give. You understand? We got to reciprocate that kindness. He's having precious thoughts towards you. We got to do the same. Oh, I love this. So trust, do good, dwell where you're supposed to. It says delight in him, and you're going to make it. That's survival tip number 2. Trust in God, not in man. Survival tip number 3.